Alright, guys, so I had to, before I start this live stream, I just want to tell you guys that I had to private the live stream because, I accidentally, did something pretty wrong here, but it's nothing inappropriate, don't worry, but, I accidentally, broke my camera. Like, it was set to the wrong way and, it accidentally showed something, but, in other words, I accidentally showed a bit of my face, but, thank gosh I hid it now. Yeah, it's a good thing I private it now. So I'm going to be doing this new live stream for a bit. Once again, this is a special day for most Australians. It's called Australia Day. Now, before I start this live stream, I'm going to be giving a shout out to a user named Cassie from Dragon Tales, who has actually helped me inspire. Like no, not like that, guys. What do you mean by that? But anyways, what I was meant to say is she actually answered my questions in a Q&A video, which I'll probably put the link in the description below so you can go check that out. So I thought why I'd do this special live stream, by the way. Now, unlike the previous one, which I had to private it ever since I stopped it. I mean, thank gosh no one viewed my, thank gosh no one viewed my live stream at the time because, it would have been pretty scary if I did. So yeah, for this stream though, I'm not going to be showing my, any PowerPoint pictures I made myself, nor show pictures of the animals or wildlife there this time. I'm only going to be talking about my, I'm only going to be talking about my thoughts on the Australia Day myself, as well as give out a few things that, I mentioned before. So I'm going to be talking about Australia Day first. So if I could just look it up myself right there. It's a good thing I do on my computer with me. So let's give you a history lesson right now. So celebrated on January the 26th, Australia Day is not actually about the independence of Australia. No, it actually marks the arrival of the British First Fleet in 1788 and the establishment of the first European settlement in Australia. So that's pretty cool, guys. Yeah, I apologize what happened last time. If I showed a bit of my face then please don't hate me for this. It was just, don't worry, the original stream is private, so yeah. It was nothing inappropriate. I can assure you, it was nothing inappropriate. But yeah, guys. So yeah. And yes, I did see I mentioned this before, but I'm going to mention it again. I did see the new leaks for the new Thomas and Friends, merchandise, the diecast medals. I might make my discussions. I might make a thoughts video about this later on, but I'm not going to explain it all here because I want this special to be, based on, to be Australian themed. You know. So I won't be explaining a lot of, things Australian in this new live stream. Sorry, guys, because, I was supposed to do that, like, last stream when I first started, but because of that, I accidentally, showed a bit of my face, which I wasn't supposed to do. I decided to private the original stream, and now I'm not going to talk about, much. So yeah, I'm only going to give out some facts about some of the animals that, Cassie from Dragon Tales mentioned in her Q&A video. And before you ask, no, it's not the actual, character from the TV show itself. It's just like some kind of roleplay account, I mean, she's nothing bad, to be honest. She's actually a really good user, in my opinion. In fact, I fully respect her, and she was very nice to me before. But it's pretty surprising she knows a lot of Australian animals, just like I do. But for this one, I'm only going to be discussing at least probably a few. The ones that you guys might have heard of the most, as well as one surprise one at the end of the video. No, the end of the live stream. Sorry, guys. I don't know why I tend to stutter that. I don't know why I tend to stutter, to be honest, stuff like that. So, I'm going to be talking about, so let me just revise all the things I've done in my previous, the original live stream, which I've privated, you know. So, I'm going to talk about, things real quick. So, yeah. So, Australia is the birthplace of some of the iconic shows that you guys might know of, like, The Wiggles, Bluey, and High Five. That's pretty cool. And, the place where The Wiggles was held in was Sydney, and Blue was made in Brisbane, which is in Queensland. I don't know about High Five, though. I mean, there's many other Australian children's shows that I'd like to go mention, but I probably won't have enough time to explain this in the live stream, though, because I want to get this done and over with, and I want to get some rest tonight. So yeah. So other things that Australia is known for is, the outback, which is a harsh, dry, deserty kind of environment. It's also home to this giant rock of some sort called the Uluru, which I learned a long time ago. I mean, it's a sacred place for the Aboriginal people in the area and has many ancient paintings. Now, I may not have been to the Outback or the Uluru place myself, but I guess it looks like some sort of interesting place. And once again, I apologize not showing, the pictures of my Vention avatar in these places, because currently my phone is charging right now and I don't want to, you know, mess up things again. So yeah. All right, so sorry about that. I was just rearranging a few stuff in my room like I always do. I don't know why I have the tendency to do that, but for me, it's just like, I just like putting things in different places around my room because I have a lot of shelves. But that's not important right now. Now I'm going to be talking about some of the wildlife that is in Australia, and I've got a script to help me just in case. So I'm going to start off with, the obvious creatures, the kangaroos, probably Australia's most iconic mammals. So kangaroos are what we call marsupial mammals. And marsupials are mammals that give birth to underdeveloped young that continue their development in a pouch. And yes, I'm an animal nerd. Don't judge me. So it says that kangaroos can maintain a speed of up to 40 kilometers an hour. They are the largest marsupial and can stand up to 6 feet tall and weigh 90 kilograms. Now, that is very impressive. I met some kangaroos before in some wildlife parks. I mean, some of them were free roaming kangaroos, free range, I was meant to say. Sorry, guys. And it's a good thing that none of them actually, attacked me or anything, because I heard these guys are pretty dangerous. But the ones in the zoos, I think, are, you know, they were pretty tame, is what I meant to say. So, yeah. So yeah, I guess it's safe to say that kangaroos are just very amazing animals. And now I'm going to be moving on to another Australian animal right now. And a lot of you guys might have heard of the koala. These furry marsupials are pretty cute. They have they have a grayish brown coat and they have rounded ears, kind of like bears, except they are not related to bears at all. They are marsupials. Get that through your thick skull. Now, there are not many koalas left in the wild. So I have seen the fact that, they mostly live on a diet of eucalyptus leaves and they like to sleep a lot, don't they? They can sleep up to like 20 hours a day or more. So that's pretty crazy, right? Okay, so I might not be able to talk about all the Australian animals I was planning to feature in this video, so I deeply apologize. But let's move on to another creature now. I'm going to move on to the wombat now. Now, wombats are also marsupials. They are pretty muscular and adapted for a burrowing lifestyle. They have short legs, a round body, and coarse grayish brown fur. So that's pretty cool. They also kind of like have like a big nose too. So if you want to ask anything in the chat, then go ahead. Just as long as it's not inappropriate or anything stupid, then that's fine. Just be respectful and be nice and don't act stupid in the chat. You can also ask me some questions as well if you want to. All right, so I'm now going to be talking about another one of my favorite Australian animals, and it lives in rivers, and it lives in, it only lives in Eastern Australia as well as Tasmania. It's none other than the duck-billed platypus. And as we all know, the platypus is one of the only few egg-laying mammals on our planet. The other being the echidna, of course, but I probably won't have enough time to explain what the echidna is, you know, like I said before. So they have a broad bill, webbed feet, and a streamlined body adapted for an aquatic lifestyle. And that's what makes the platypus pretty unique. So that's pretty cool. I might eventually make, a further thoughts video about some of these animals in a future live stream because I really have to get this done and over with. So yeah. It's also worth mentioning that, it's probably going to be, this live stream is probably going to be a little bit shorter than usual because, Now we're going to be moving on to another Australian animal now. This one is a bird this time. It's a really, really big bird. It's called an emu. Now, the emus are the biggest birds in Australia, from what I've heard. They are a flightless bird with long legs, shaggy brown feathers, a long neck, and distinctive blue skin on their neck. I also heard that their eggs are about 1.5 meters wide and they weigh about 680 grams. Could you imagine picking one of these up? They can also run really, really fast too. It's like, imagine trying to beat one in a race. Yes. Now, even though they're a big bird, I heard that emus are not as aggressive as some other birds like ostriches. So yeah, but still, it's best you don't go in the way of one of these guys. So yeah. I mean, I've never been attacked by an emu myself because most of the ones I've met in the zoos are pretty tame. But if I were to meet one in the wild, then. Okay, so I think we're getting close to the 20-minute mark, and the 20-minute mark would probably have to be like when I would have to end my live stream, but because I really have to get some things done and over with, like my other projects, as well as get some rest over time, which is pretty cool. I mean, it's not really cool, which is, it's actually pretty important for me because it's good for my health, though. It's for my own health, is what I meant to say. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know what's wrong with my grammar sometimes, but. All right, so now I've talked about 5 different iconic animals from Australia. Now I'm going to be talking about, this last one I'm going to be talking about is what I actually saw while I was in my trip to Singapore. The Singapore Zoo. It was during the night safari event, which I thought it was really, really good. And this is the last animal I saw before I left the zoo. It's called, so have you guys heard the Tasmanian devil before? And I'm not talking about the one in Looney Tunes. I'm talking about the real, actual animal. Yes, it's a real species. So, the Tasmanian devil is the largest carnivorous marsupial only found on the island of Tasmania. So, yeah. While Taz has been known to blabber and speak gibberish in Looney Tunes, the real Tasmanian devil's call is way more haunting than that. And yeah, some of the wildlife parks I've been to when I was in Australia one time, the Tasmanian devils were actually making very weird noises. For example, their screaming calls can be heard at night and are used when they're fighting over food or when they're trying to hunt. And because of this, the creature was nicknamed the devil by explorers when they first arrived to Tasmania. Now, Tasmanian devils are what we call scavengers. That means they eat the bodies of animals that have already died. Now, it's important to mention that Tasmanian devil populations are suffering a disease called devil facial tumor, which I've read a long time ago, which has happened since the 1990s, and it stops them from eating, which would lead them to eventually die. And there are many organizations in place to help save the Tasmanian devil, which is a good thing, and to stop the other animals to get infected by this disease. And I mean the other Tasmanian devils of its kind. And I honestly like it when, conservation programs are being held to protect some of the world's most endangered species. That's pretty cool. Because I don't want them to end up I don't want them to end up like, the extinct species or even the dinosaurs. Although these things went extinct like millions of years ago, whereas some other extinct creatures have been extinct since, modern times. But that's another story. Anyway, I guess I'm running out of things to talk about in this live stream. Now, before I end this live stream, I'm going to be playing you guys, something. But just before I wrap up this stream, I'm going to be, you know, I'm going to be giving a huge shout out to, this user. I've already mentioned her in the description below. So go check out her YouTube channel if you want to. And go check out her Q&A video too, which is pretty cool. So yeah. I don't know if she'll do another one of those, but still, I might actually make, a Q&A live stream one time. If I get enough viewers on one of my live streams, that is, which I doubt would happen because, not many people are viewing my live streams right now. But anyways, so yeah, this is ZES254 Studios saying Happy Australia Day to all of you guys. And I hope to see you guys in the next live stream. And with that being said, I'm going to be playing the Australian National Anthem to end this live stream. I hope you guys can hear it.